friends, long time no see. In case you didn't know, my basement flooded. And that is where I live. That is where my books live. And I did not cope with that well because I did not know it would flood. My basement has never flooded before, and I've lived here for a long time. So coming home to that was very distressing. And I did lose all but I think two of my light novels and one Japanese manga. And I did not cope with that well. Thankfully, everything else survived. I am so, so grateful that the floodwaters didn't go any higher than they did. It was just the bottom of my littlest shelf. Thankfully, but also unfortunately, it could have been so, so much worse. I have a lot of books. So it could have been worse, but I'm happy it wasn't. That being said, we did have to put all of my things into boxes, and in boxes, they stayed for weeks. And I'm the type of person who I find comfort in being surrounded by the things that I love. I love my books, my knickknacks, my stuffed animals. I find them cute and they bring me comfort. And so, not being able to see them and knowing that they were like lonely in boxes was also not really easy for me to cope with. So, we made a temporary setup for me so I can have some of my things visible. So, these aren't all my books. I have a lot of books. But a good majority of my books are now on two bookshelves here behind me, and some of my knickknacks are on top of them. You can't see them here though. So we are getting my basement back in order. I'm getting new bookshelves. Everything will be back to normal soon. And then fingers crossed, I'll be back on my weekly filming schedule. But I still have been doing things, and I want to do a little like life update just because I've missed making longer form content. So, in terms of what have I been doing, I have still been reading ever since we got this back up, and I have like a little shopping bin. It's so ugly. But I while I was putting my books in boxes, I put the ones that I knew I would want to read right away, like Toilet Bound Hanako-kun, into a like grocery store bin because it's so ugly. But I knew I'd want to read them soon, and I didn't want to put them away in a box. So I've been reading from that, and then reading from these two shelves a little while later. And then I've also been playing games. So I just want to talk about a little bit of everything. Starting with the games. I bought a Switch too. I was very depressed about all of my things being in boxes. I wanted to buy myself something to cheer me up. And I was already planning on getting a Switch too, primarily for Fire Emblem. Fire Emblem is my game that will make me buy a console. That is the only game that will push me to buy a new console. And the new Fire Emblem is a Switch 2 exclusive. And I watched that Fire Emblem Direct. And then I don't know if it was that night or the next day. I bought a Switch 2 because I needed it. And it's going up in price September 1st. So like I saved $50. That's how I justify it. So I've been playing a lot of two games. I've been playing a lot of Pokopia is the first one. Now I'm not the biggest Pokemon fan. I'm not gonna lie. I'm not. I like Pokemon because they're cute. And that's really it. I don't find a lot of joy in playing the fighting games. It's just not the style of game that I enjoy. I like looking at the pretty cards. I like collecting the pretty stuffed animals. I'm very shallow when it comes to Pokemon, it seems. But Pokopia, I heard it being described as a crossover between Minecraft and Animal Crossing. And I really liked Animal Crossing. So I did get the download code for that one because my Switch came with it was either Mario World, Donkey Kong Bonanza, or Pokopia. So I chose Pokopia, and I'm really enjoying it so far. It is very much like a builder game. My world is ugly. I'm not gonna lie. I'm not a designer. I just really like talking to the Pokemon. I find them really cute. I like that in this game. You can just talk and hang out with the Pokemon versus in the like main line of games, you can't talk to the Pokemon because you're a trainer. In Pokopia, you're a Ditto that's taking the form of a human. I just find it really comforting. It's cute. Again, my world is not pretty, but it's my world and I really like it. And then the other game that I'm playing a lot of is I don't know if it's 9 RIP or RIP 9, and I will not Google it to check because I don't want it to be spoiled. It's an otome game about a young girl who ends up being kind of transported to the world of the non-living. And she has to figure out who sent her there, why is she there? Is she actually still alive? Has she passed away? What does she do? And it's such an interesting mystery. All of the character designs are so beautiful. Usually when I play an otome game, I'll only like one or maybe two of the like male characters. Like Sometimes I won't even like any of them. I'm really picky when it comes to character design. But in this game, I like everyone's character design. Like there hasn't been one character that I wasn't fascinated with, which is really rare for me. And I like all of their like character traits and everything. Just no one's rubbed me the wrong way yet. And that's kind of strange for me. Like in a good way. I'm enjoying it so much. I have not completed anyone's arc yet because I'm switching between R.I.P 9 and Pokopia. So I'm still in the beginning stages of both of them, but I'm enjoying them both so, so much. If you have any Switch or Switch 2 exclusive game recommendations, please do let me know. I do like pretty much everything. I have been eyeing that new Splatoon game because I'm such a fan of Splatoon, but I'm not a team player. So I like the idea of a single person Splatoon. I feel like that'll be a lot of fun. Because when you play Splatoon, if you're on a team and even one person isn't as strong as the other three, you're gonna lose, just no matter what. And that would frustrate me so much because I want to win. So I feel like a single player Splatoon game would be right up my alley. So if you've played that, let me know because that might be the next game I buy before Fire Emblem. From here, I want to take a look at just a couple of my English manga reads that I really, really enjoyed. Starting off with a very strong one. It is a seinen series, but I think everybody should read it. If you're familiar with Beastars, I really enjoy Beastars. You may be familiar with Taika's Reason. This is a new one by the same author as Beastars, and it's fantastic. There's only one volume out so far, but it is so, so good. This is a mystery series. In this manga world, we have this procedure called humanization, where, as you can kind of guess from the cover, it transforms house pets, so dogs and cats, into these humanoid creatures. And they are able to think and talk and act just like humans, but they still hold their animalistic characteristics. And so in this manga, we see our protagonist who lives with her father, who are both vehemently against humanization. They think if you love your pet, why would you burden it with being a human? That's an awful thing to do to your beloved pet. Why would you do that? However, after a rather unfortunate incident happens to her father, her mother goes behind her back and turns the dog into a human, thinking that the dog saw what happened to the father and will be able to speak about it. Little does the mom know, the dog very well may be behind what happened to the father. And our protagonist, after losing her father, does not want to lose her dog as well, even as a humanoid person dog. It's still her dog. She still feels responsible for it. So she has to convince the dog to not say anything about whatever it might have seen or done and to instead continue living a lie. But at least they'll be living a lie together. And it's very, very good. I've only read the first volume. Only the first volume's published in English so far. But it was a very strong volume. At least I think so. My next one is a romance following a fox and a bunny, and it is called Beneath the Fur. So the fox's name is Fox, the bunny's name is Bunny. And they do talk and they have emotions and feelings. This one is classified, at least in Japanese, as a human drama. And you might be thinking, there's no humans in this story. It's a fox and a bunny. Why is it called a human drama? But once you read it, you will understand. It is very, very good. It actually made me a little bit emotional with how deep it got because at first glance you wouldn't expect this to be a deep story, but it is. It goes places. It does touch on very human things, the biggest being the potential loss of a parent, like watching your parents grow older, thinking like how many more times am I going to see my parents until they're no longer around, like that sort of thing. So it goes places. It can be pretty sad. And we also follow like predator and prey. Can they be friends? They're from two different classes. So it does have quite a few levels to it. I really, really enjoyed it. I think this one is complete in 4 volumes in Japanese, so it will be a shorter one. And my last one is Witch of Thistle Castle. This is a 4-volume series complete in English, and it was amazing. This series, we follow a red witch and her new apprentice. And we, like the apprentice, go into this world knowing nothing. I think he's 13. He grew up within the walls of like a prison almost, inside the church. And he's only let out of the church to be in the care of the red witch. He is incredibly powerful, so she has to teach him how to keep his powers at bay, is what we're told at the very beginning of the story. So we are really just thrown into this magical, confusing world. There is no hand holding. Like, there's called, like, he's referred to as the blood of righteous anger. What does that mean? And it's never explained. But I liked that because it's not explained to him either. He's just called that and expected to know what that means. So I do like the mystery because it's a witchy, fantastical series. You shouldn't expect to understand everything right from the get-go. And the more you read, the more things do fall into place. So I like it. I think the world building is fantastic. I love a good witchy series, and this one's very fun. Our Red Witch is also a really, really captivating character. And the magic system in this one is interesting because magic is seen as kind of like an agreement between witches and magic creatures. Witches are only called witches because they can see the magic creatures. And it's interesting and I really like it. So those are my top English ones that I've read recently. And then on the Japanese side, some of my most recent favorite reads, we have Tonari no Motokare-kun. This series follows two people who used to date more than 20 years ago. So when they were in high school, they were each other's first everything. Really, really cute, madly in love with each other. They broke up because of distance. The two of them lived in northern Japan in Hokkaido, and he had to move off of the island, making it difficult for him to get back in contact with her. More than 20 years later, both of them are single again. He really wants, both of them are still in love with each other, but he had moved away. He really wants to see her again. He moves back to their hometown, and then they start dating again. And even though 20 years have passed, more than 20 years have passed, everything is new, but also kind of the same. Like, it's really familiar. And it's a beautiful story, and I'm really, really enjoying it so far. I've read the first 2 volumes so far. I'm loving it so much. It's such a cute story. There's no drama. Everything is told just kind of in comparison to how they were when they were in high school and how they are now. And it's just lovely. Then we have a shoujo romance series. This series is called Kami ni koi nado Hayasugiru. We follow one goddess of love who, when she shoots a boy with her Cupid's arrow one day, to no avail. He does not fall in love with anyone. And she goes up to see him to see what's wrong with him because she shot him with her Cupid's arrow. And he, in turn, takes her arrow and pierces her with her own arrow, making her fall in love with him, turning her human somehow. And the only way for her to turn back into the goddess of love that she should be is to make him fall in love with her. The Cupid's arrow has no effect on him, so she has to go the old-fashioned route. And it's really funny. Both of them have kind of bad personalities, so they complement each other really, really well. And I say they have bad personalities. They have their reasons for their more undesirable personality traits, and I really enjoy that. I know some people complain sometimes that characters tend to be too perfect in shoujo manga. Personally, I do not hold that belief. I can find a flaw in a character and I'll still like them either way. But if you're looking for something with more flawed characters, this is a good one because both of them clearly have their flaws and their flaws are clearly explained. So you'll never wonder why they did something, and I like it. So our goddess of love feels above all men, and it's really funny. So she will not give a boy the time of day ever because she feels like she is worth more than him. And he treats everybody really, really amicably for his own sake. So he's fake nice to everyone to make his own life easier. So things like that where maybe don't do that. But also it's understandable why they do that. And I like that. And then lastly, we have Horeta, Hareta, Panda. This is by the author of Futarijime Romantique, and both are amazing. This series it's a shoujo high school romance, but this series follows our protagonist here, Hanna, who works as a panda mascot. And she takes her job very, very seriously. Number 1 rule, no talking in the panda mascot outfit. You cannot let anyone know there's a person inside the panda mascot outfit. It's a panda. And one day, while she's working in the panda suit, this handsome boy who goes to her school helps her out of a really bad situation. She eventually realizes it's him, but he never realizes who he saved because to him, it's a panda. And both of them work in the same area, doing very different things, but in the same area. And we see the two of them develop kind of friendship. So, like, he's friends with her in panda form. And like it might sound a little bit weird, but actually it's pretty cute. And then at school, the two of them, like the actual people, her outside of the panda outfit, begin developing a friendship. So he doesn't realize that his friend Panda, or he doesn't realize that his friend Hana is his friend Panda. He thinks they're two separate beings. And it's really fun. He's a really, really interesting character. I find this mangaka, this manga author, writes very, very interesting male leads. I liked the male lead in Futarijime and I liked the male lead in Panda. And those are some of my favorite reads. I've also been so into Toilet Bound Hanako-kun recently. No spoilers, please, because I just read volume 10 and like, I'm still like, it still has a hold on me. And it's so interesting. I feel like Toilet Bound Hanako-kun is my favorite out of everything that I'm currently like ongoing reading. But I wanted to talk about the new things that I've been reading because I can't just keep talking about the same things over and over again. It would be Toilet Bound Hanako-kun and talking about the same things over and over again. It would be Toilet Bound Hanako-kun and Colette decides if I did. And I like talking about a variety of things, and I like introducing new manga. But yes, that is everything that's been going on with me lately. Hopefully my basement's back to order soon, fingers crossed, and then I can get back on track with my filming and whatnot. And if not, who knows?